everyone, we are from group 3. We would like to present you a video about assessing reading. Our lecturer are Professor Dimro Isan, MA PhD, and Dr. Ismail Petrus, MA. Let's start it. Hi there, my name is Sarin Fadila. I will explain in more detail about genres of reading, micro skill, macro skill, strategies for reading comprehension, and the types of reading. Talking about assessing reading, in foreign language learning, reading is like a skill that teachers simply expect learners to acquire. So reading, arguably the most essential skill for success all educational contexts, remains a skill of paramount importance as we create assessment of general language ability. For learners of English, two primary hurdles must be clear in order to become efficient readers. First, they need to be able to master fundamental button-up strategies for processing spirit, letters, words, and phrases, as well as top-down, conceptually driven strategies for comprehension. Second, as part of that top-down approach, second language readers must develop appropriate content and formal schemata, background information, and cultural experience to carry out those interpretations effectively. Okay, first I will explain about genres of reading. There are three main genres of reading that are academic reading, job-related reading, and personal reading. First is academic reading. Academic reading is defined as a reading with a specifically academic and educational purpose. For example, traditional book, dictionaries, encyclopedia, journal article, textbook, essay, and papers. And then second one, job-related reading is defined as a reading with a specifically about in getting a job, those concerned with learning a job, and those concerned with doing a job. For example, messages, letters, report, financial document. And the third is personal reading. Personal reading is personal responses enable readers to relate to a text, to reflect on their own reading processes, and to make sense of the reading in their own life. For example, newspaper, magazine, emails, and greeting cards. After we know about genres of reading, next I will explain about micro skill, macro skill, and strategies reading comprehension. Reading comprehension is the process of simultaneously extracting and constructing meaning through interaction and involvement with written language. Therefore, to enable students to have such an important skill, they have to master both micro and macro skill of reading. Micro skill for reading comprehension. There are 7 points about micro skill for reading comprehension. 1. Discriminate among the distinctive grapheme and orthographic pattern of English. 2. Retain chunks of language of different length in short-term memory. 3. Process writing at an efficient rate of speed to suit the purpose. 4. Recognize a core of word and interpret word order patterns and their significance. 5. Recognize grammatical word classes like nouns, verb, adverb, etc. System, for example, tenses, agreement, pluralization, pattern, rules, and elliptical form. 6. Recognize that a particular meaning may be expressed in different grammatical form. 7. Recognize cohesive devices in written discourse and their role in signaling the relationship between and among clauses. Next, micro-reading skill for reading comprehension. There are also 7 points about micro-reading skill for reading comprehension. 1. Recognize the rhetorical form of written discourse and their significance for interpretation. 2. Recognize the communicative function of written text according to form and purpose. 3. Infer context that is not explicit by using background knowledge. 4. From describe events, ideas, etc. Infers link and connection between events, deduce causes and effects, and detect such relation as main idea, supporting idea, new information, giving information, generalization, and exemplification. 5. Distinguish between literal and implied meanings. 6. Detect culturally specific references and interpret them in a context of the appropriate culture schemata. And the last, develop and use a battery of reading strategies such as scanning and skimming, detecting discourse markers, guessing the meaning of word from the context, and activating schemata for the interpretation of text. Alright, after micro skill and micro skill, for the next is strategies for reading. There are 10 point strategies for reading. 1. Identify your purpose in reading a text. 2. Apply spelling rules and convention for bottom-up decoding. 3. Use lexical analysis, prefixes, roots, suffixes, etc. to determine meaning. 4. Guess at meaning of words, idiom, etc. when you are uncertain. 5. Skim the text for the gist and for main ideas. 6. Scan the text for specific information like names, dates, and keywords. 7. Use silent reading techniques for rapid processing. 8. Use marginal notes, outlines, chart, or semantic maps for understanding and retaining information. 9. Distinguish between literal and implied meanings. And the last is capitalize on discourse markers to process relationship. Alright, I already explained about genres of reading, micro skill, and strategies for reading comprehension. And the last is I will explain about the types of reading. In the context of reading, there are 4 types of reading from simplest to most complex, and they are first is perceptive, second selective, third interactive, and the last is extensive. First is perceptive reading. Perceptive reading is focused primarily on bottom processing. In other words, if a teacher is trying to assess this type of reading, they simply want to know if the student can read or not. So, perceptive reading thus involve attending to the component of larger stretches of discourse, letters, words, punctuation, and other graphemic symbols. And the second one is selective reading. Selective reading uses both bottom-up and top-down processing. Selective reading involves looking a reader's ability to recognize lexical, grammatical, or discourse features of language within a very short stretch of language. Certain typical tasks are used: picture cue tasks, matching, true or false, multiple choice, etc. Stimuli include sentences, brief paragraphs, and simple chart and graphs. The third is interactive reading. Interactive reading involves deriving meaning from the text. This places even more emphasis on top-down processing. That is, reading is a process of negotiation, meaning the reader brings to the text a set of schemata for understanding it. And intake is the product of that interaction. Typical genres that lend themselves to interactive reading are anecdotes, short narrative, description, questionnaire, memos, announcement, direction, recipe, and the like. And the last is extensive. Extensive use top-down processing. Extensive is reading large amount of information and being able to understand the big picture. The student need to be able to separate the details from the main ideas, including professional article, essay, technical report, short stories, and books. Extensive reading as a longer stretches of discourse such as long article and looks that are usually read outside a classroom hours. Okay, here the definition is messaged a little in order to encompass any text longer than a page. Alright, here I have put the figure about the relationship of length, focus, and processing mode among the four types. For length, there are short, medium, long. For focus, there are four meaning, and for process, there are bottom up and top down. For two black dots, it means that strong emphasis, and then one black dot, it means that moderate emphasis.
Hello guys, my name is Aryo Hatima. I'm going to explain several types of reading performance. The first is perceptive reading task. The second is selective. The third is interactive, and the fourth is extensive. Okay, we will going to first part. Okay, in this part I will explain what is the perceptive reading task. Are often referred to literacy and implying that the learner is literate. For example, some learners are already literate in their native language, but in another case, their second language might be first language that they ever learned to read. Okay, we move to the perspective reading task. In this part, we have several types. The first is reading aloud. In this part, the test taker separates letter, words, and short sentence and read them aloud one by one. The second type is written response. It is the same stimulus are presented and the test taker tasks into to produce the problem in writing. For example, a reading error. When we see the sentence have a error or not, we must read that and written the response. Okay. The next part is multiple choice. In multiple choice, response are not only a matter in choosing one of the 4 or 5 possible answer. Maybe another format is here, or format sum or difference. And the next is circle and answers, and or true or false, and the last is choose the letter and matching. Okay, maybe this is the last type of perceptive reading task is a picture cue item. Here we can see the picture. From the picture we have cat, we have clock, we have chair, right? So from that the picture we can make some task for the student. Not only see the picture, but we can task show a picture such as one on the next page along with a written text or given one of number to possible tasks with the some picture such as sentence identification like this, or true and false, and word matching and word identification. I will explain about designing assessment tasks for a selective reading. Before that, I will explain what is selective reading. Selective reading is the category in which the test designer focus on formal aspect of language, like a lexical, grammatical, and few recursive feature, like a vocabulary. The next is the type of selective reading. The first is multiple choice. Here, the example of multiple choice vocabulary or grammatical tasks. Here we can see this is the focus format mainly for the reason practice is easy to administer, can be scored quickly. The last type of multiple choice is here. Yes, multiple choice calls vocabulary or grammatical task. We have a sentence and we have a blank. Then the student will be choice by multiple choice what is the correct answer. So this is make a student reading aloud. The next is matching task. Matching task, as usually we have one part. This is the answer and blanks the sentence. We have the answer. Like that, we have a question and we have an answer like that. So by matching tasks, we have a selective level of reading. The test taker is simply to respond correctly. So by that, this is the usually matching task. In matching task, we have another type is a selective response field vocabulary task. We have this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Word sentence, so the student will be give the selective response for the question like that. For the next type is in selective reading task is the editing task. Here in editing task is focus for grammatical and rhetorical error. Is a widely used test method for assessing linguistics. In this task, we have example in the TOEFL test and many another tests. Like in TOEFL test, we have in structure, right? So here, I have an example of editing task. In here, we have one sentence. So in the sentence, we have many underlined words. So the test taker or the learners will be answer the wrong or the incorrect answer. And the next is feature cue task. In the previous explanation, we'll look to the feature cue task for the prospective task. So in the selective task, it is have also, but in this selective task it is more complex and it is recognize more symbol and words. Here I have the example of the feature cue task for a selective reading. Here a diagram labeling task. So in this picture we have a bicycle. So after that we have a sentence. So the test taker will be read aloud the sentence. What is the sentence? Explain it. So if we have explain it. So the test taker will be give a number to the where is the number in the picture like that. So for the next part will be presented by my friend.
Hi, I'm Tadia. I'm going to discuss about interactive reading and extensive reading. After knowing the perceptive reading and selective reading, now let's continue to the interactive reading. This kind of reading task is designed with interactiveness. Something that is interactive involves input or actions on the part of the user. So that's why interactive reading requires some action or involvement on the part of the reader. In short, we can say that interactive reading encourages the reader to do more than simply read printed text. There are some examples of reading test design to assess our students. What are they? First, closed tasks. One of the most popular types of reading assessment tasks is the closed procedure. Although similar in appearance to completion items, closed test is not same with simple blank filling tasks. In ordinary completion tasks, the words for deletions are selected subjectively, whether the grammar or the key content. Meanwhile, in closed tests, the words are deleted systematically. In order to make it clear, let's see the form. Here is the form of fixed ratio deletion every 7 words. Every interval word is deleted by the test writer. The interval is usually between every 5th until 10 words. In this form, the 7 words are the favorite for deletion in closed tests. The is the first word, recognition is the second word, that is the third word, once is the fourth word, feelings is the fifth word, of is the sixth word, and the seventh word is deleted by the test writer. It means that our students will answer it. The next is rational deletion for preposition and conjunction. If you pay more attention, they are in the same passage. But the difference is that the form of the test. In both versions, there are 7 deletions. But the second version allows the test designer to tap into predictions of preposition and conjunction in particular. And the second version provides more washback as students focus on targeted grammatical features. Both of the scoring methods named above could present problems, with the first version presenting a little more ambiguity. The last variation of closed test is C-test procedure. This form inserts words into a text that don't belong. The test writer's task is to detect and cross out the intrusive word. Second, impromptu reading plus comprehension questions. We might see this form in the TOEFL test. Look at this reading comprehension test. Notice that this set of questions based on 250 word passage. It covers main idea or topic, expressions, idiom, phrases and context, inference or implied detail, grammatical features, supporting ideas, and vocabulary in context. Notice that many of them are consistent with strategies of effective reading, such as skimming for main idea, scanning for details, guessing word meanings from context, interferencing, and using discourse markers. Third, short answer task. Let's see this form of the test. This kind of test, it offers students a chance to construct their own answers. It can also create our students' potential to follow up discussion. 4. Editing longer text. We see this test in a grammar of TOEFL test. This test introduces one error in each number sentence. The test takers followed the same procedure for making errors. 5. Scanning. Scanning is a strategy used by all readers to find relevant information in a text. Assessment of scanning is carried out by presenting test takers with a text, like prose or something in a chart or graph format, such as a 1-2 page news article, an essay, a chapter in a textbook, a technical report, a table or chart, or some research findings, a menu, and an application form. 6. ordering tasks. Students always enjoy the activity of receiving little strips of paper, each with a sentence on it, and assembling them into a story, sometimes called strip story technique. Seventh, information transfer such as reading charts, maps, graphs, or diagrams. The act of comprehending graphics includes the linguistic performance of oral or written interpretations, commands, questions, and etc. This implies a process of information transfer from one skill to another. In this case, from reading verbal and non-verbal information to speaking or writing tasks. Assessment of these abilities covers a broad spectrum of tasks. You may see this. This is the task for assessing interpretation of graphic information. We come to the second task. It is extensive reading. Extensive reading is done for fun and pastime. It is loose and comfortable since no task or output is expected after reading. It also develops general reading skills. For example, storybooks, comics, journal articles, longer essays, short stories, and etc. In assessing reading of our students, we can use first, skimming tasks. In assessing reading, there are skimming tasks. The responses are oral or written depending on the context. Most assessments in the domain of speaking are informal and formative. The score is giving appropriate feedback to our students on their strategies of predictions. This is the example of the task. Second, summarizing and responding. One of the most common means of assessing extensive reading is to ask the test taker to write a summary of the text. The task that is given to students can be very simply worded. However, the scoring of this assessment will be so there will be 0 until 3 scores for those who write no answer and full of answer. Okay, this is the end of our video. Thank you for your attention. See you on the next video. Bye!